Welcome back to the channel Sleep Beneath History. Tonight, we are taking another slow journey into the quiet pages of history. If you enjoy peaceful stories about the ancient world, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment to share where you're listening from, and subscribe so you won't miss our next relaxing adventure. Now make yourself comfortable. Settle into your favorite place, close your eyes if you wish, and let the worries of today slowly drift away. Together, we are going to visit a place that many people have heard of, but very few truly know. Tonight, our story begins in one of the largest deserts on Earth, a place of wide skis, endless horizons, and quiet silence. We are traveling into the heart of the Sahara, where, thousands of years ago, an extraordinary civilization found a way not only to survive but to build towns, grow crops, raise families, and create a kingdom that amazed travelers from distant lands. This is the story of the Garamantes. Many history books spend pages talking about ancient Egypt, Greece, or Rome. Their great temples and famous rulers are known across the world, but hidden far beyond those kingdoms, surrounded by seas of sand, another people quietly built their own remarkable civilization. For a very long time, much of their story remained buried beneath the desert. The wind covered their roads. The sand hid their homes. The passing centuries erased many of their names. Yet little by little, archaeologists uncovered traces of a forgotten world: broken pottery, ancient graves, stone buildings, long underground tunnels that stretch farther than anyone first imagined. These discoveries told a different story about the Sahara. Instead of an empty land that no one could cross, it became clear that the desert had once been home to clever engineers, skilled farmers, experienced traders, and proud communities who understood the rhythms of this challenging landscape better than almost anyone else. So tonight, we will leave behind the busy streets of our modern world. Instead of traffic and bright city lights, imagine warm golden sand stretching in every direction. Instead of ringing phones, hear only a gentle breeze moving over quiet dunes. Instead of crowded buildings, picture distant hills rising from the desert floor beneath a deep blue sky. Take a slow breath. Allow your mind to travel. Imagine you are standing at the edge of the Sahara just after sunrise. The air is still cool from the night before. A soft light spreads across the land. Long shadows reach across the sand like quiet rivers. Nothing seems to move. For a few peaceful moments, the desert feels almost asleep. Then little by little, life begins to appear. A small bird flies low over the ground. Tiny insects leave delicate tracks across the sand. Far away, perhaps so far that they almost seem like part of the horizon itself, you notice a line of camels walking slowly together. Their footsteps are steady. Their pace never hurried. Each step sinks gently into the soft earth before lifting again. This slow rhythm has carried travelers across the Sahara for thousands of years. The desert teaches patience. There is no reason to rush. Every journey happens one careful step at a time. As you watch the caravan disappear into the distance, it becomes easier to understand why ancient people respected this landscape so deeply. The Sahara is beautiful, but it also asks much from those who enter it. Water can be difficult to find. Summer heat can become overwhelming. The distance between one oasis and another may take many days to cross. A traveler who does not understand the desert may quickly become lost. Yet for those who learn its secrets, the Sahara becomes something very different. It becomes a home. Long before maps showed every mountain and valley, families already knew where rainwater gathered after rare storms. They remembered hidden springs. They passed stories from one generation to another about safe routes through the dunes. Knowledge became as valuable as food, perhaps even more valuable, because knowing where to find water meant knowing where life could continue. Thousands of years ago, the Sahara did not always look exactly as it does today. This might seem surprising. When we picture the Sahara, we often imagine endless dry sand. But nature is always changing, even if those changes happen slowly over many centuries. There was a time when much of northern Africa looked greener than it does now. Large lakes reflected the sky. Grasslands stretched across wide plains. Wild animals wandered through places that today seem impossibly dry. Imagine herds of antelope moving peacefully through tall grass. Imagine elephants walking beside rivers. Imagine hippos resting in quiet pools of fresh water. It almost sounds like another world. Yet scientists have found rock painting showing exactly these animals. Hidden inside caves and sheltered cliffs, ancient artists painted scenes from their daily lives. Their pictures remind us that landscapes are never completely permanent. The earth is always changing. As centuries passed, however, the climate slowly became drier. The rains grew less dependable. Lakes became smaller. Grasslands slowly disappeared beneath expanding sand. Families who once lived beside rivers faced difficult choices. Some moved away. Others adapted. And among those who adapted were the people who would eventually become known as the Garamantes. Their homeland lay in what is today southwestern Libya. To many outsiders, this region appeared almost impossible to live in. There were mountains, rocky valleys, dry plains, and vast stretches of desert reaching toward every horizon. Yet hidden beneath this harsh landscape was something precious. Deep underground rested ancient water. Not rivers flowing on the surface, not lakes shining beneath the sun, but water stored beneath layers of rock for countless generations. This hidden gift would one day allow an entire civilization to grow. But we are getting slightly ahead of ourselves. For now, let us simply continue our gentle walk across the desert. Imagine the sun climbing higher into the sky. The morning becomes warmer. Golden light spreads across every hill of sand. The colors slowly change. Soft orange becomes pale yellow. The shadows shorten. Tiny crystals within the sand sparkle for a moment before disappearing again. The desert is never completely one color. It is a landscape filled with quiet variety. Some dunes are smooth. Others carry delicate ripples shaped by yesterday's wind. Some hills appear almost red. Others seem white beneath the bright sunlight. Even the rocks tell stories. Many have been shaped by wind for thousands of years. Their edges become rounded. Their surfaces polished. Nature works slowly, patiently, without ever stopping. As you continue walking, you notice that silence itself has many sounds. A faint breeze brushes past your ears. Somewhere in the distance, a bird calls once before becoming quiet again. Your footsteps leave soft impressions behind you. Then another gentle gust arrives, already beginning to erase those footprints. The desert remembers very little. It allows almost everything to disappear. Perhaps this is one reason why the Garamantes remained hidden for so long. Unlike civilizations that built enormous stone monuments reaching high into the sky, much of their world blended naturally into the landscape. Their greatest achievements were often hidden below the ground rather than above it. Travelers passing nearby might never realize what existed beneath their feet. Entire systems of tunnels quietly carried water across the desert. Fields grew where outsiders expected only dry sand. Villages appeared almost like miracles beside small patches of green. To strangers, these places must have seemed impossible. How could crops grow here? How could families live comfortably in such an unforgiving land? The answers came from careful observation. Hard work, patience, and generations of shared knowledge. The Garamantes understood something that every desert community eventually learns. Water is life. Every drop matters. Every spring deserves protection. Every well deserves care. Long before modern machines drilled deep into the earth, these ancient people found remarkable ways to reach hidden water beneath the Sahara. Their work demanded incredible effort. But because of that effort, children could grow up surrounded by orchards. Farmers could harvest grain. Animals could drink. Communities could flourish where others saw only emptiness. Imagine arriving after many days of travel. Your water supplies have become dangerously low. The horizon has shown nothing except rock and sand. Then almost suddenly, you notice green trees rising in the distance. Palm leaves move gently above the desert floor. Birds circle overhead. The air feels just a little cooler. You have reached an oasis. Even today, an oasis feels welcoming. In the ancient world, it could mean the difference between life and death. For travelers, these places became resting points. For merchants, they became busy meeting places. For families, they became homes. The Garamantes built much of their civilization around these precious islands of life. Every tree carried value. Every garden represented years of careful work. Every harvest was celebrated with quiet gratitude. As the centuries passed, these peaceful settlements slowly connected with one another. Roads formed across the desert. Caravans arrived carrying goods from distant lands. Languages mixed. Stories spread. Ideas traveled as steadily as the camels themselves. Although separated by great distances, the Sahara was never completely isolated. It was alive with movement. Slow movement. Patient movement. The kind of movement that matched the rhythm of the desert itself. And somewhere along these ancient routes, the Garamantes were becoming one of the Sahara's most skilled and respected peoples. Most travelers from the Mediterranean knew very little about them at first. The world beyond the desert often seemed mysterious. Maps ended. Rumors began. Some imagined monsters. Others imagined endless empty lands. Reality, as it often does, proved much more interesting. Beyond the familiar coastlines lived real people with families, traditions, and communities that had developed over many centuries. The Garamantes were not legends. They were neighbors waiting to be discovered. As the morning sun continues its gentle climb across the wide African sky, our own journey into their remarkable world is only just beginning. There is still much to learn, much to imagine, and many quiet paths waiting for us beneath the endless sands. So, as the warm desert breeze continues to drift softly across the dunes, let us walk a little farther together. In the next part of our story, we will begin meeting the earliest people who settled this remarkable land, and discover how a forgotten kingdom slowly emerged from one of the most challenging landscapes on Earth. As the morning grows a little brighter, let us continue our quiet journey across the Sahara. The breeze still moves gently over the open land. The sky is clear from one horizon to the other. Around us, the desert seems peaceful and almost endless. It is easy to believe that this place has always looked the same. But the land beneath your feet has lived many different lives. If deserts could speak, the Sahara would have countless stories to tell. It would remember rivers that no longer flow. It would remember forests that disappeared thousands of years ago. It would remember children laughing beside lakes that have long since dried away. Imagine that we are not walking through the Sahara of today. Instead, imagine that time begins to move backward. Not by years, not by centuries, but by thousands of years. The wind grows cooler. The dry air begins to soften. Clouds become more common in the sky. Rain falls more often than it does today. Little by little, the land changes before your eyes. The empty plains become green. Small plants begin to appear. Soon they cover the ground like a soft blanket. Then shrubs begin to grow. Trees spread across valleys. Streams flow between gentle hills. Birdsong fills the morning air. Animals arrive one after another. Gazelles wander through the grass. Wild cattle graze peacefully. Giraffes stretch their long necks toward the leaves of tall trees. Elephants move slowly beside rivers. Even crocodiles rest along the water's edge. It is difficult to imagine these animals living here today. Yet thousands of years ago, this was their home. Scientists call this period the African humid period. During these long ages, much of the Sahara received enough rain to support lakes, grasslands, and large numbers of animals. People naturally followed. Where there is water, there is life. Where there is life, families can settle. The earliest people who lived here were not building cities or kingdoms. Their lives were much simpler. They hunted wild animals. They gathered fruits and seeds. They fished in rivers and lakes. They watched the changing seasons very carefully. The sky became their calendar. The stars became familiar friends. The movement of birds told them when seasons were changing. The arrival of rain brought hope. The drying of rivers brought concern. Their survival depended upon paying close attention to nature. Imagine spending your entire life outdoors. You know every hill nearby, every spring, every animal track. You recognize different birds simply by hearing their calls. You can tell which direction the wind has come from. You notice small changes that most people today might never see. The people of the ancient Sahara lived with this kind of awareness every single day. Nature was not something separate from life. Nature was life itself. Their homes were simple. Some built temporary shelters using branches and animal hides. Others lived near rocky cliffs, where caves offered protection from wind and rain. These shelters did not need to be grand. They simply needed to provide comfort, warmth, and safety for families. When evening arrived, small fires glowed beneath the stars. Meals were shared together. Children listened to stories told by grandparents. The stars slowly crossed the night sky, just as they do today. Some things never change. Even across thousands of years, families still gathered together. Parents still cared for children. Friends still laughed around warm fires. People still looked toward tomorrow with quiet hope. One of the most beautiful gifts these early people left behind can still be found today. Hidden among rocky mountains across the Sahara are ancient paintings. Many are protected inside caves, where the weather could not easily erase them. Imagine standing before one of these stone walls. The painting is thousands of years old. The artist who created it lived so long ago that we do not know their name. Yet somehow, through careful hands and natural colors, they left us a message. You see people dancing together. You see hunters following animals. You see cattle with curved horns. You see families moving across open land. Some paintings even show swimming. Swimming in the middle of what is now one of the driest deserts on Earth. At first, this seems impossible. But these paintings remind us once again that the Sahara was once a very different place. The artists were simply recording the world around them. Perhaps they hoped future generations would remember. Perhaps they simply wished to celebrate everyday life. Whatever their reason, their work survived long after their own voices faded into history. It is a peaceful thought. Across thousands of years, one human being quietly reached out to another through art. As we continue our slow walk through time, the climate begins changing once more. Not suddenly. Nature rarely works that way. Instead, year after year, the rains become a little less dependable. Some lakes shrink only a few steps each generation. Children notice that places where their grandparents once fished are becoming dry ground. Grass grows shorter. Trees become fewer. Animals begin searching for better lands. Life slowly becomes more difficult. Families must make important decisions. Some leave. Others stay. Those who remain become experts at adapting. Instead of depending upon large rivers, they search for hidden springs. Instead of following wide grasslands, they learn narrow paths leading from one oasis to another. Knowledge becomes the greatest treasure a family can possess. A father teaches his daughter where water can still be found during the hottest months. A grandmother teaches her grandchildren which plants survive the longest dry seasons. Every generation adds something new. Every generation protects what has already been learned. This slow passing of knowledge is one of humanity's greatest strengths. Long before books existed here, wisdom traveled through conversation. Stories became classrooms. Memory became a library. The desert rewarded those who listened. Imagine sitting beside an elderly storyteller after sunset. The stars shine brightly overhead. The air has become cool again. The storyteller points toward distant hills. There is water beneath those rocks, they might say. Not much, but enough. Then they point toward another valley. Never travel there during the hottest season. Finally, they point toward the eastern horizon. When the stars rise together in that direction, prepare for the changing season. No maps are needed. Everything lives inside memory. These lessons cannot be rushed. They take years to learn. Children grow into adults while slowly collecting this knowledge. One day, they become the storytellers themselves. In this way, the wisdom of the desert survives. As centuries continue to pass, people begin changing their way of life. Instead of relying only on hunting, many families begin caring for animals. Goats become especially valuable. They are hardy. They need less water than many larger animals. They can survive where others cannot. Sheep also become important. Later, cattle continue to play a role wherever enough grass can still be found. Life becomes a careful balance. Families move with their animals when necessary. Some remain near dependable water. Others travel between seasonal camps. Everyone understands that flexibility is part of survival. There is no single perfect way to live in the Sahara. Different families find different solutions. Some become skilled herders. Others become talented craftsmen. Stone tools grow more refined. Pottery becomes more common. Simple containers help families store food and water. Each new idea makes life a little easier. Innovation often begins with very small improvements. One useful pot. One stronger rope. One better way to dig a well. Generation after generation, these small improvements slowly transform society. No one notices history changing while they are living it. Only much later do we look back and see how important those quiet moments truly were. The people who would eventually become the Garamantes did not appear overnight. They were part of this long story. Their ancestors learned from countless generations before them. Every lesson about water, every lesson about travel, every lesson about farming in difficult conditions. All of this knowledge slowly gathered like drops filling a well. By the time the Garamantes emerged as a recognizable people, they already carried centuries of experience. This experience would become their greatest advantage. They understood something that visitors often missed. The Sahara was not simply a place of danger. It was also a place filled with opportunity. Those who respected it could build remarkable lives. Those who ignored its lessons rarely stayed for long. Now imagine that we are climbing a gentle hill overlooking a broad valley. From the top, the view stretches for miles. At first, everything appears empty. But if you look carefully, you notice something unusual. Thin lines cross the landscape. Small clusters of trees stand where no rain has fallen for many months. A few buildings rise from the earth. Smoke curls gently into the sky. People are living here, working here, building something lasting. Without realizing it, we have reached the beginning of a new chapter in human history. The scattered families of the ancient Sahara are slowly becoming organized communities. Those communities will one day grow into villages. Those villages will become towns. And from those towns, one remarkable civilization will quietly rise. The world will come to know them as the Garamantes. But before they become rulers of desert trade and masters of hidden water, we must first meet the people themselves. As the afternoon sun casts long, peaceful shadows across the rocky hills, let us continue our gentle journey into the heart of their remarkable story. In the next part, we will arrive at the fertile oasis of the Fezzan and discover why this quiet corner of the Sahara became the birthplace of one of Africa's most fascinating forgotten civilizations. The afternoon sun now hangs peacefully above the desert. Its light is warm but not harsh. A gentle breeze carries tiny grains of sand across the open ground. The air is quiet enough that, if you stand still for a moment, you can almost hear nothing at all. It is a silence unlike any other. Not empty, not lonely, simply calm. As we continue our slow walk, the land around us begins to change. The endless dunes become fewer. Low rocky hills begin to appear. The ground grows firmer beneath our feet. Small bushes cling to the earth wherever they can find enough moisture. Then, almost without warning, a line of green appears on the horizon. At first it is only a faint color. Then it becomes clearer. Tall date palms rise into the bright sky. Their leaves move gently with the wind. The shade beneath them looks cool and welcoming. We have reached one of the greatest treasures of the Sahara, an oasis. To someone who has traveled for many days across dry country, an oasis would have felt almost magical. There is fresh water. There are trees. Birds gather among the branches. The air itself feels different. Cooler, softer, full of life. The people who lived here understood something that every traveler soon learned. An oasis was never just a place to rest. It was a place where life could continue. Imagine walking slowly beneath the palms. Sunlight slips through the leaves, making moving patterns across the ground. Children laugh as they carry small baskets. Women speak quietly while preparing food. Men return from nearby fields with simple tools resting across their shoulders. The smell of fresh dates drifts through the warm air. Somewhere nearby, bread is baking over a small fire. Goats wander between stone walls. A donkey patiently waits beside a well. Nothing feels hurried. Life follows the steady rhythm of the seasons. Morning work, midday rest, evening conversations, night beneath the stars. It is easy to forget that this peaceful village stands in the middle of one of the harshest deserts on Earth. The people who settled here made every drop of water count. Without water, these palms would disappear. The gardens would dry. Families would have to leave. So every spring, every well, and every underground channel was treated with great care. No one wasted what nature had given. This region, known today as the Fezzan, became the homeland of the Garamantes. It lies deep within what is now southwestern Libya, surrounded by vast deserts and rocky plateaus. To someone looking only at a modern map, it may seem isolated, far from the Mediterranean coast, far from large rivers, far from famous ancient cities. Yet thousands of years ago, this quiet land occupied a very special place. It stood at the meeting point of many different worlds. To the north lay the Mediterranean. Beyond it were growing kingdoms and busy ports. To the south stretched tropical Africa, rich in forests, rivers, and distant communities. To the west and east were other desert peoples, each following ancient caravan routes known only to experienced travelers. The Fezzan was like a peaceful crossroads. Goods arrived from many directions. Stories traveled alongside them. Languages mixed. Ideas spread from one community to another. Every traveler carried something. Sometimes it was salt, sometimes gold, sometimes beautiful cloth, sometimes rare stones, sometimes simply news from distant lands. Long before newspapers or written letters became common here, caravans connected people across enormous distances. Imagine a merchant arriving after several weeks of travel. His camels move slowly into the oasis. Their heavy packs are covered with woven cloth. Children run forward to watch. Adults greet the newcomers warmly. Everyone is curious. Where have they come from? What have they seen? How was the journey? Are the roads safe? Has rain fallen anywhere this year? Even simple conversations become valuable. Information is as important as trade. A merchant who knows which wells still hold water may save many lives. A traveler who has heard of trouble along a caravan route may help others choose a safer path. Knowledge spreads from person to person, one quiet conversation at a time. The Garamantes became excellent listeners. They learned from visitors. They also taught visitors in return, because they knew this desert better than almost anyone else. Imagine living in one place for generations. Your grandparents knew every valley. Your parents knew every hidden spring. Now you learn those same paths. Each journey adds another memory. Each season teaches another lesson. Soon the desert no longer feels confusing. It feels familiar, comforting, like an old friend. This deep understanding gave the Garamantes confidence. While outsiders often feared the Sahara, the Garamantes respected it. Respect is different from fear. Fear can make people freeze. Respect encourages careful action. They knew when to travel, when to rest, how much water to carry, which valleys stayed cooler during the hottest months, which hills provided shelter from sudden desert winds. These lessons were earned through patience. Nothing was rushed. Nothing was taken for granted. As the years passed, the villages of the Fezzan slowly grew. Stone houses became more common. Some homes were built from blocks of local rock. Others used mud brick, shaped carefully by hand and dried beneath the desert sun. The walls were often thick, not for beauty, for comfort. Thick walls kept the inside cooler during the heat of the day and warmer during cold desert nights. Even today, many traditional desert homes use the same simple idea. Sometimes the oldest solutions remain the best. Imagine stepping inside one of these homes. Your eyes need a moment to adjust after the bright sunlight outside. The rooms are pleasantly cool. Clay jars filled with water stand against the walls. Simple woven mats cover the floor. Wooden bowls and pottery sit neatly on low shelves. Nothing is extravagant. Nothing is unnecessary. Everything has a purpose. A family gathers for the evening meal. Fresh dates are placed in the center. Flat bread rests beside them. There may be goat's milk, olives brought by traders, or vegetables grown in nearby gardens. The meal is simple, but it is shared together. Conversation moves gently around the room. Someone tells a story remembered from childhood. Another speaks about tomorrow's work. Children listen quietly, sometimes asking curious questions. The oldest family members smile. Many of these stories have been told countless times before. Yet no one seems tired of hearing them. Stories carry memory. Memory carries identity. Long before history was written in books, it was spoken around family meals. Outside, the village continues its peaceful routine. A craftsman repairs a leather water bag. Another shapes clay into new pottery. Someone weaves baskets from palm fibers. Others grind grain using heavy stone tools that have served families for generations. Each task appears ordinary, yet together they support an entire community. Every person contributes something. The farmer grows food. The shepherd cares for animals. The potter makes containers. The blacksmith repairs tools when metal becomes available. The trader connects distant places. The storyteller preserves the past. None of these roles stand alone. Each depends upon the others. This quiet cooperation allows the village to flourish. As generations pass, these connected communities become stronger. Leaders emerge, not simply because they are powerful, but because people trust their judgment. A wise leader knows where new wells should be dug, how food should be stored during difficult years, when disputes should be settled peacefully, how travelers should be welcomed. Leadership in the desert often begins with responsibility. Every decision affects many lives. The Garamantes slowly developed into an organized society. Villages worked together instead of standing alone. Paths between settlements became busier. Trade increased. Fields expanded. Families became connected through marriage, friendship, and shared work. Little by little, something remarkable was taking shape. A kingdom was beginning to grow. No one living through those years would likely have said, "Today we are creating history." Instead, they simply planted another field, built another house, welcomed another child into the community. History often grows quietly, almost unnoticed. Only centuries later do we look back and realize how extraordinary those ordinary days truly were. Far beyond the oasis, travelers crossing the Sahara began hearing stories. They spoke of a people who lived deep in the desert, a people who somehow farmed where others could not, a people who guided caravans safely across lands that frightened outsiders, a people whose settlements seemed to appear unexpectedly after days of empty wilderness. These stories spread farther with every passing generation. Some became exaggerated. Others remained surprisingly accurate. But all of them carried the same message. There was a thriving civilization hidden within the Sahara. As the afternoon slowly begins to soften toward evening, golden light stretches across the palm groves. The long shadows of the trees reach across the gardens. Birds settle quietly into their nests. Families prepare for another peaceful night. The village grows calmer. Yet beneath this quiet surface, great changes are already beginning. The Garamantes are becoming more than skilled oasis farmers. They are becoming engineers, builders, traders, organized leaders of a growing desert kingdom. Their greatest achievement, however, has not yet appeared. Hidden beneath the ground lies an astonishing network that will transform the Sahara itself. It is a system so clever that even today it continues to impress archaeologists and engineers alike. As evening approaches and the first cool breeze of night begins to drift across the Fezzan, Let us continue onward. In the next part of our journey, we will descend beneath the desert floor to discover the hidden tunnels that carried life through the sands and made the kingdom of the Garamantes possible. The afternoon is beginning to fade. The bright light of the desert has become softer now. The sky is still blue, but it has lost the sharpness of midday. A quiet breeze moves through the date palms, and the leaves answer with a gentle rustling sound. Around us, the oasis is peaceful. Children who spent the morning helping in the gardens have returned home. The animals are resting in the shade. A few travelers sit quietly beneath the palms, enjoying cool water before continuing their long journeys tomorrow. Everything seems calm. Everything seems simple. If you looked around this village for the first time, you might wonder how such a peaceful place could exist in the middle of the Sahara. Where does all this water come from? Rain is rare. There are no great rivers flowing across the land. No wide lakes stretch toward the horizon. Yet the gardens remain green. The palm trees continue to grow. The wells never seem completely dry. The answer lies somewhere you cannot see. Beneath your feet. Imagine standing in the middle of the oasis. The warm earth feels firm beneath your sandals. Nothing appears unusual. But many meters below the surface, hidden beneath layers of rock and sand, ancient water waits in silence. This water is incredibly old. Some of it fell as rain thousands of years before the Garamantes were even born. During the time when the Sahara was green, rain slowly soaked deep into the ground. Instead of disappearing forever, much of it became trapped beneath thick layers of stone. There it rested, quiet, cool, protected from the burning sun above. Generation after generation passed overhead, while the water remained hidden in darkness. Most people would never have known it was there. But the Garamantes learned its secret. Perhaps no one can say exactly who first discovered this hidden gift. Maybe it was a shepherd searching for a lost goat. Maybe it was a hunter exploring a rocky valley. Perhaps someone noticed that certain plants remained green even during the driest seasons. Where plants stayed alive, there was often water somewhere below. However it happened, careful observation slowly revealed the truth. The desert was not empty. It held life beneath its surface. Finding the water was only the beginning. The much harder question remained. How could people reach it? Today, powerful machines can drill hundreds of meters into the ground in only a short time. The Garamantes had no engines, no electric pumps, no heavy equipment, only simple tools. Stone, wood, metal when it was available, and countless willing hands. Yet with these humble tools, they created one of the greatest engineering achievements of the ancient Sahara. Imagine a group of workers gathering early in the morning. The air is still cool. Each person carries simple equipment: ropes, wooden baskets, digging tools. Their destination is not a field or a garden. Instead, they stop on a quiet hillside several kilometers away from the village. There the work begins. One man starts digging into the earth. Soon another joins him. The hole grows deeper. Day after day, week after week, the opening slowly becomes a narrow vertical shaft leading down into the darkness. The deeper they dig, the cooler the air becomes. Sunlight reaches only the upper part of the shaft. Below, only small lamps provide enough light to continue working. It is difficult labor. Dust fills the air. Loose stones must be lifted carefully to the surface. Every basket of earth is pulled upward by rope. Every meter requires patience. No one hurries. Mistakes underground can be dangerous. The workers understand this well. When one shaft reaches the right depth, they begin another farther away. Then another, and another. Eventually, something remarkable happens. The shafts are connected underground. A narrow tunnel stretches from one opening to the next. Then another tunnel continues farther still. Little by little, a hidden passage grows beneath the desert. These underground channels gently slope downward. Not too steep, not too flat, just enough for water to flow slowly under its own weight. No pumps are needed. Gravity does all the work. It is a beautifully simple idea, and one that requires astonishing skill to build correctly. If the tunnel slopes too much, the water rushes too quickly and damages the passage. If it slopes too little, the water stops moving altogether. The builders had to judge these distances with remarkable accuracy. They had no modern measuring instruments, only experience, careful observation, and knowledge passed from one generation to the next. Imagine crawling through one of these tunnels. It is cool inside. The air smells of damp earth. Above your head, solid rock protects you from the blazing desert sun. A small stream of clear water flows quietly beside you. Its gentle sound echoes through the narrow passage. Drop by drop, step by step, the water begins its slow journey toward the oasis. When it finally reaches the surface, it spreads into gardens, orchards, and fields. Without these tunnels, the land above would remain dry. With them, life becomes possible. Today, archaeologists often compare these underground systems to the qanats of Persia or the fagaras used elsewhere in North Africa. Although similar ideas appeared in different regions, the Garamantes adapted this technology with extraordinary determination to meet the challenges of the Sahara. Their network eventually stretched for hundreds of kilometers beneath the desert. It is difficult to imagine such an enormous project. Think for a moment about what it required. Thousands of workers, many years of labor, constant repairs, careful planning. Every tunnel had to be cleaned, loose rocks removed, collapsed sections rebuilt. The work never truly ended. Even after a tunnel was completed, someone always had the responsibility of maintaining it. This was not a single generation's achievement. It belonged to many generations working together. A grandfather might help begin a tunnel. His son might extend it. His grandson might repair it decades later. In this way, the work became part of everyday life. Imagine the pride a family might feel knowing that water flowing into the village depended partly upon the labor of their ancestors. Every harvest would remind them of those who dug beneath the sand. Every palm tree would stand as quiet proof of their effort. The Garamantes understood something very important. Water should not simply be taken. It should be respected. A careless person could damage a tunnel. A neglected shaft could collapse. A blocked channel could leave entire fields without water. So the community worked together. Everyone understood that protecting water meant protecting life itself. The underground passages also changed the rhythm of work. Instead of waiting only for rain, farmers could plan their seasons with greater confidence. They planted grain. They cared for date palms. They grew grapes in some places. Figs, vegetables, and other crops also found a home wherever enough water reached the surface. The oasis slowly expanded. More food meant more families could settle nearby. More families meant more workers. More workers meant more tunnels could be built. Each success encouraged another. The kingdom quietly grew stronger. Imagine standing at the edge of one of these gardens just before sunset. Water flows gently through narrow channels cut into the earth. A farmer carefully opens a small barrier, allowing the stream to enter one field. After enough water has soaked into the soil, he closes the barrier and opens another. Nothing is wasted. Every drop has a destination. Children help remove small stones from the channels. Older family members watch the flow with experienced eyes. This knowledge is learned from childhood. No one needs to shout instructions. Everyone understands the importance of patience. As evening approaches, the last rays of sunlight touch the tops of the date palms. The gardens glow with warm golden light. Birds settle quietly among the branches. The water continues flowing exactly as it is all day. Silent, steady, reliable. Above ground, the oasis seems peaceful. Below ground, hidden from sight, the ancient tunnels continue carrying life through the desert. The Garamantes rarely built giant monuments that reach toward the sky. Their greatest masterpiece flowed beneath the earth, unseen by most travelers. Perhaps that is one reason their civilization remained forgotten for so many centuries. Visitors admired the palm trees. They enjoyed the fresh water. But few understood the incredible work hidden below their feet. Even today, when archaeologists uncover these tunnels, they are often amazed by their scale and precision. Each discovery reminds us that human creativity does not always appear in towering palaces or magnificent temples. Sometimes the greatest achievements are quiet ones. A tunnel that brings water, a garden that feeds a family, a well that gives hope to travelers. These humble creations may not seem spectacular at first glance, yet they allow entire civilizations to flourish. As the first stars begin to appear above the cooling Sahara, the village grows quiet. Small cooking fires flicker gently between the homes. Families gather for their evening meals. Soft conversations drift through the warm night air. Somewhere beneath them, ancient water continues its endless journey through darkness, just as it has for countless generations. And tomorrow, when the sun rises once again over the pheasant, that hidden water will awaken the oasis once more. In the next part of our journey, we will step into the everyday lives of the Garamantes themselves, meeting the farmers, craftsmen, children, and elders whose quiet routines turned this remarkable desert kingdom into a thriving home. The stars slowly fade into the pale colors of dawn. Night has been cool, as desert nights often are. A gentle breeze still lingers, carrying the fresh scent of damp earth from the gardens. Above the eastern horizon, the first light quietly appears. It begins as a soft silver glow, then pale blue. Soon, warm shades of gold spread across the sky. Another day is beginning in the land of the Garamantes. Imagine that you are waking inside one of their homes. The room is peaceful. The thick walls have kept the cool air of the night safely inside. The floor beneath you is smooth and clean. A woven mat rests beneath a simple blanket made from wool. There are no loud sounds, no engines, no rushing crowds. Only the distant call of a bird greeting the morning. Someone nearby begins preparing the first meal of the day. A clay pot is gently lifted. Fresh water is poured into a small bowl. Outside, a donkey lets out a quiet bray before settling down again. The village is waking one family at a time. The Garamantes understood the rhythm of the desert. Much of the hardest work was done during the cooler hours. Before the midday sun became too warm, farmers wanted to reach their fields. Shepherds wished to guide their animals toward fresh grazing. Craftsmen hoped to complete important tasks while the morning air was still comfortable. Life followed the rising and setting of the sun. There were no clocks hanging on the walls, no bells marking every hour. Instead, people watched the sky. The changing light told them what time it was. The length of a shadow could reveal whether morning was just beginning or nearly over. Nature itself became the village clock. Imagine stepping outside. The air feels fresh. Palm trees cast long shadows across narrow pathways. Women are already sweeping the spaces outside their homes with simple handmade brushes. Children carry small jars toward the village well. Neighbors greet one another with quiet smiles. No one appears hurried. There is work to do, certainly. But there is also time for kindness. Time for conversation. Time to notice the beauty of another peaceful morning. As you walk farther through the village, you begin noticing the homes more closely. Most are modest in size. They are built close together, offering protection from strong desert winds. The walls are made from mud brick or local stone. Flat roofs provide useful places for drying food beneath the warm sun. Small windows help keep the inside cool. These houses were designed not to impress visitors, but to make daily life comfortable. Every part served a purpose. Inside many homes, the main room is where much of family life takes place. Meals are prepared here. Stories are shared. Tools are repaired. Children learn from parents and grandparents. Sometimes visitors are welcomed with fresh dates and cool water. Hospitality is important. In the desert, offering food or drink to a traveler is more than simple kindness. It is an understanding that everyone depends upon one another. A stranger today may become a friend tomorrow, or perhaps someone who offers help during a difficult journey. Imagine sitting quietly with one family as they prepare breakfast. The meal is simple. Fresh dates rest in a woven basket. Flat bread baked the evening before is warmed over a small fire. Goat's milk is poured into clay cups. There may be olives obtained through trade. Perhaps a handful of dried figs. The food is not extravagant, but it is nourishing. The family eats together. Conversation is gentle. The youngest child excitedly tells everyone about a dream from the night before. An older brother laughs softly. A grandmother smiles while carefully breaking bread into smaller pieces. The father discusses the work waiting in the gardens. No one rushes to finish. The meal is as much about being together as it is about eating. This sense of family helped hold Garamantes society together. Children learned not only practical skills, but also values. Respect, patience, generosity, responsibility. These lessons were rarely written down. Instead, they were shown through everyday actions. A child watched an older sister help prepare food. A young boy followed his father into the fields. Grandparents shared memories of difficult seasons and successful harvests. Everyday life became the classroom. Imagine a little girl following her mother into the garden. She carries a tiny basket that seems almost too large for her small hands. Her mother patiently shows her how to gather ripe dates without damaging the tree. The lesson is not hurried. If she makes a mistake, no one becomes angry. Learning takes time. Nearby, another child watches his grandfather repairing a wooden farming tool. The old man explains why one piece must be carved carefully. A poorly made handle may break during harvest. A strong one could last many years. The boy listens closely. One day, he will repair these tools himself. Knowledge moves quietly from one generation to another, like water flowing through the underground tunnels. Slow, steady, constant. Outside the village, farmers are already walking toward their fields. The paths are familiar. Some have traveled the same route every morning since childhood. Others are just beginning to learn. The gardens surrounding the oasis are carefully organized. Date palms stand tall overhead. Beneath them grow smaller fruit trees. Closer to the ground, vegetables and grains make use of the precious shade. This clever arrangement protects delicate plants from the strongest sunlight. Every bit of land is used wisely. The Garamantes understood that farming in the Sahara required careful planning. Nothing could be left to chance. Water channels carry fresh water through the fields. Each channel must remain clear. A blocked passage could prevent crops from growing. So families inspect them every day. Small repairs are made before larger problems appear. It is another example of patience. Another reminder that success often comes through small, steady efforts. Imagine a farmer kneeling beside one of these channels. He gently removes a few stones that have fallen into the water. The stream immediately begins flowing more smoothly. The work takes only a few minutes, yet it protects an entire section of the garden. Sometimes the most important tasks are also the quietest. As the sun climbs higher, more people become busy. A potter shapes wet clay into smooth jars. His hands move confidently after years of practice. Each vessel must dry slowly before being placed inside a hot kiln. Nearby, a woman weaves baskets from palm fibers. Her fingers move almost without thought. The pattern has become part of her memory. Children watch with curiosity. Perhaps one day they will weave just as skillfully. A leather worker carefully repairs a worn water bag. A shepherd counts his goats before leading them beyond the oasis. An elderly man sharpens farming tools beneath the shade of a palm tree. Everywhere you look, people are working. Yet the village never feels noisy. Each person concentrates on simple tasks. There is no need for haste. The rhythm of the community remains calm. Visitors from distant lands might have been surprised by this peaceful order. Many outsiders imagined the Sahara as empty wilderness. Instead, they discovered organized villages filled with skilled people. Communities where everyone understood their role. Communities where survival depended not on individual strength alone, but on cooperation. Imagine watching two neighbors repairing a garden wall together. Neither speaks very much. One places the stones. The other steadies them. Occasionally they smile or exchange a few quiet words. By midday, the wall is strong once again. Tomorrow they may work in another garden. Next week, someone else will offer help in return. This quiet cooperation creates trust. Trust creates strong communities. Strong communities survive difficult times. The Garamantes knew that no family could face the desert entirely alone. Sometimes drought would come. Sometimes crops would fail. Sometimes travelers would arrive needing food and water after exhausting journeys. Sharing resources helped everyone endure. It was not always easy, but it made life possible. As the morning continues, the village becomes filled with the gentle sounds of ordinary life. The soft splash of water flowing through irrigation channels. The tapping of stone against wood. The distant voices of children playing beneath the palms. The flutter of birds settling among the branches. The quiet footsteps of people moving from one task to another. None of these sounds are loud. Together they create a peaceful melody. The melody of a living community. Imagine standing quietly beneath a tall date palm, watching this scene unfold around you. No one realizes that, thousands of years later, people from faraway lands will study their civilization with wonder. To them, today is simply another ordinary day. The fields need watering. The bread needs baking. The children need teaching. The animals need caring for. History is being made through ordinary moments, through patient work, through simple kindness, through families living their lives beneath the warm African sun. As the day slowly approaches its warmest hours, many villagers begin preparing for a short period of rest before returning to their work later in the afternoon. The desert has taught them another important lesson. Not every hour is meant for labor. Sometimes wisdom means knowing when to pause, when to seek shade, when to gather strength for the hours ahead. So let us also slow our steps. The morning has been peaceful, and there is still much of this remarkable kingdom waiting to be discovered. In the next part of our journey, we will spend the hottest hours of the day among the farmers and gardeners, learning how the Garamantes transformed precious water into thriving orchards, fertile fields, and abundant harvests in the heart of the endless Sahara. The morning has now quietly slipped toward midday. The sun has climbed high above the Sahara, filling the sky with bright, steady light. The air has become warmer, and the village has slowed its pace. This is the hottest part of the day, a time when the desert gently reminds everyone to work wisely rather than quickly. Imagine standing beneath a tall date palm. Its wide leaves spread above you like a natural roof. Small patches of sunlight dance across the ground as the breeze gently moves the branches. The shade feels wonderfully cool compared to the open desert, only a short distance away. Beyond the trees, waves of warm air shimmer above the sand. The contrast is remarkable. Only a few hundred steps separate this peaceful garden from the dry wilderness surrounding it. It almost feels as though two different worlds exist side by side. This quiet oasis did not appear by chance. Every tree, every field, every narrow water channel, every patch of green has been carefully planned by generations of Garamantes farmers. Nothing here has been left to luck. Imagine one of those farmers beginning his work. His clothing is light, loose, and practical, helping protect him from the strong sunlight while allowing the air to move freely. A simple cloth covers his head. His sandals are worn from years of walking the same familiar paths. He pauses beside a small irrigation channel. The water flows gently through it, making the softest sound as it slips over smooth stones. He kneels and places one hand into the cool stream. The water is precious, not because it is rare alone, but because every drop has traveled a long journey beneath the earth before reaching this place. The farmer smiles quietly. The flow is steady today. That is good news. A steady flow means healthy crops. Healthy crops mean healthy families. Life in the oasis always begins with water. Without it, even the strongest seed cannot grow. The Garamantes understood this better than anyone. They never treated water carelessly. Instead, they guided it patiently through carefully built channels that reached every corner of their gardens. Imagine looking down from a nearby hill. From above, the oasis resembles a living pattern. Long rows of date palms stretch across the land. Between them lie smaller gardens. Thin streams of water sparkle under the sunlight as they branch into different directions. It almost looks like the veins of a leaf carrying life to every part. Nothing is wasted. Each channel serves a purpose. Every turn has been carefully designed. Some fields receive water first. Others wait until later in the day. The flow is controlled with simple earth barriers that farmers open and close by hand. There are no complicated machines. Only experience, observation, patience. Imagine watching an older farmer teaching his young grandson. The boy kneels beside the water with great curiosity. His grandfather gently places a small stone into one channel. The water changes direction. The stream begins flowing toward another field. The boy watches with wide eyes. Such a simple movement has changed the path of the water completely. His grandfather smiles. He explains that farming is not about forcing nature. It is about working with it. The boy nods quietly. He may not understand every lesson today, but he will remember this moment. Years from now, he will teach another child the same skill. Knowledge continues flowing, just like the water itself. The date palm is the heart of the oasis. If you spend enough time here, you soon realize that almost every part of the tree is useful. Its sweet fruit feeds families throughout the year. Fresh dates are soft and rich in flavor. Many are eaten immediately after harvest. Others are carefully dried so they can be stored for months. During long journeys across the desert, dried dates become one of the most valuable foods a traveler can carry. They are light. They keep well. They provide energy after many hours of walking beneath the sun. The leaves are also important. They are woven into baskets. They become mats for sitting and sleeping. Sometimes they help form the roofs of simple shelters. The strong fibers are twisted into rope. Even the trunks of older trees can be used in building. Very little is thrown away. The Garamantes respected the gifts of the palm because they understood how much effort it took for each tree to grow. Imagine standing beneath one that has lived for many decades. Its rough trunk tells the story of countless seasons. Its roots reach deep into the soil. Its crown stretches confidently toward the sky. Many generations of one family may have harvested fruit from this very tree. Grandparents, parents, children, perhaps even great-grandchildren. The tree quietly connects them all. Below the palms, another layer of life flourishes. The shade created by the tall trees protects smaller plants from the strongest sunlight. Here grow figs, grapes, pomegranates, vegetables, herbs with pleasant scents. Grain sways gently whenever the breeze passes through the fields. This layered style of farming is both clever and practical. The tallest plants guard the smaller ones. The cooler air beneath the palms helps the soil hold its moisture longer. Even today, many oasis farmers continue using similar methods because they remain so effective. Imagine slowly walking through these gardens. The ground beneath your feet feels soft from careful watering. Butterflies drift from flower to flower. Bees quietly gather nectar. Birds sing from the branches above. The scent of fresh herbs mixes with the sweetness of ripe dates. It is difficult to believe that beyond the edge of the oasis lies one of the driest deserts in the world. Here, life feels gentle, peaceful, almost timeless. The harvest season is one of quiet satisfaction. Families work together from early morning. Some climb carefully into the palms. Others stand below holding woven baskets. Each cluster of ripe dates is lowered with great care. Children gather fallen fruit from the ground. Nothing is wasted. Laughter often fills the gardens during these busy days. Work becomes easier when shared. The harvested fruit is carried back to the village. Some is eaten fresh. Some is dried beneath the warm sun. Some is stored inside cool rooms where it will remain safe until needed. A good harvest brings comfort, not excitement, not celebration with great noise. Instead, it brings quiet relief. The food stores are full. The coming months feel less uncertain. The Garamantes knew that every successful season depended upon many small acts of care. The tunnels had to remain clear. The channels needed cleaning. The trees required attention. The soil had to be protected. One neglected task could affect many others. Farming was never just about planting seeds. It was about maintaining balance. Imagine two sisters carefully pulling weeds from a small vegetable patch. They move slowly, patiently. They speak softly as they work. One remembers a story their grandmother once told about a year when very little rain fell, even far beyond the oasis. The family survived because previous generations had stored enough dates and grain. The story is not meant to frighten. It is meant to teach. Good preparation is a quiet form of hope. Nearby, an elderly woman inspects several clay storage jars. She checks each lid carefully. Grain must stay dry. Dates must remain protected from insects. Food storage is just as important as food growing. A successful harvest can easily be lost through carelessness. Every member of the household has responsibilities. Each task matters, even the smallest. As the afternoon grows warmer, many farmers pause beneath the shade of the palms. They drink cool water, share a few dates, speak quietly about tomorrow's work. The pause is brief. Soon they return to their gardens. The desert teaches another valuable lesson. Work is important. Rest is important too. Neither should be forgotten. Imagine sitting beside them for a while. No one is in a hurry to speak. The silence itself feels comfortable. A gentle breeze passes overhead. Palm leaves whisper together. Water continues its slow journey through the channels. Somewhere nearby, a dove calls softly. It is the kind of peaceful afternoon that reminds us how deeply connected these people were to the land around them. They did not try to conquer the desert. They learned how to live alongside it. That quiet partnership allowed their civilization to flourish for centuries. As the sun begins its slow journey toward the western horizon, the harsh brightness of midday gradually softens. Longer shadows stretch across the gardens. The hottest hours are ending. Soon the village will become busy once again. Craftsmen will return to their workshops. Children will gather in the open spaces beneath the palms. Travelers may arrive with news from distant lands. The cool evening will bring another gentle rhythm to life in the oasis. And with it, our journey will continue. In the next part of our story, we will leave the peaceful gardens behind for a little while and walk through the workshops and marketplaces of the Garamantes, where skilled craftsmen, traders, and traveling caravans quietly connected the heart of the Sahara to the wider ancient world. The afternoon slowly begins to fade. The bright heat of the day softens into a warm golden light. Long shadows stretch across the gardens, and the air becomes pleasant once again. One by one, the farmers finish their work. Water channels are checked for the final time. Simple tools are carried home. The palms sway gently in the evening breeze, almost as if they too are settling down after another peaceful day. This is a favorite time of day for many people. The hardest work has been completed. The evening meal is still some time away. There is a little space for conversation. A little space for meeting friends. A little space for listening to stories brought by travelers. Imagine leaving the gardens behind and following a narrow path toward the center of the settlement. The path is well worn. Countless footsteps have smoothed the ground over many generations. On one side, children chase one another beneath the shade of the palm trees, their laughter gentle rather than loud. On the other side, an elderly shepherd slowly guides his small flock of goats back toward their enclosure. The animals seem to know the way without much guidance. Dust rises softly beneath their feet before settling once again. The village feels alive. Not busy in the way a great city might be. Instead, it has a calm, steady rhythm. People greet one another by name. Neighbors stop to exchange a few words. Visitors are welcomed with curiosity rather than suspicion. Life moves at the pace of walking. Soon, the path opens into a wider space. This is the heart of the community. It is not a grand square surrounded by marble buildings. There are no towering statues or magnificent palaces. Instead, there are simple stalls made from wood, woven mats, and cloth stretched to provide shade. Here, the people of the oasis gather to exchange goods, share news, and strengthen the friendships that hold the community together. Imagine walking slowly between the stalls. The first thing you notice is the quiet variety. One family displays baskets woven from fresh palm leaves. Each basket has its own pattern. Some are large enough to carry dates during harvest. Others are small enough for herbs or dried fruit. The weaving is careful and even. Every strand has been placed with patient hands. Nearby, another craftsman has arranged rows of clay pots. Some are tall and narrow, designed for storing water. Others are wide and shallow for mixing grain. The smooth surfaces catch the warm evening light. No two are exactly alike. Each one carries the small marks left by the fingers that shaped it. Imagine speaking with the potter. His hands are still dusted with fine clay. He smiles kindly as he explains that the earth used for his work comes from a special place near the oasis. The clay must be cleaned carefully. Small stones are removed. Water is added little by little until the mixture becomes smooth. Only then can a new vessel begin to take shape. He has repeated this process hundreds of times, perhaps thousands. Yet each pot still receives his full attention. There is quiet pride in doing ordinary work well. A little farther along, the scent of leather drifts through the air. A leather worker sits beneath a woven canopy. He carefully stitches a strong water bag with a bone needle and tough thread. The leather has already been softened with oils. When finished, the bag will travel across the desert, carrying precious water for merchants and their camels. Without skilled craftsmen like him, long journeys would become much more difficult. Every trade has its place. Every craft supports another. As you continue your slow walk, you hear the gentle tapping of metal. A blacksmith is repairing the head of a farming tool. His workshop is simple. A small fire glows nearby. A pair of hand-operated bellows feeds the flames. When the metal becomes hot enough, he lifts it carefully with tongs and shapes it using measured strikes of his hammer. Each sound rings softly through the evening air. Tap, pause, tap, pause. There is no rush. The work follows its own peaceful rhythm. Metal is valuable here. It is not something to waste. Broken tools are repaired whenever possible. Old pieces are reshaped into new ones. Every useful object deserves a long life. Imagine a young apprentice watching closely. He studies every movement of the blacksmith's hands. When should the metal be heated? How hard should each strike be? How can he tell when the tool is ready? These lessons cannot be learned from a book. They must be observed, practiced, repeated, year after year. This is how knowledge survives. The marketplace is not only a place for buying and selling. It is also a place for teaching, for listening, for remembering. As the evening grows cooler, more visitors begin arriving. Some have walked from nearby villages. Others have traveled much farther. A small caravan enters the settlement at an unhurried pace. The camels move with slow, steady confidence. Their long shadows stretch across the ground. Their packs are tied securely with strong ropes. The travelers look tired but peaceful. They have completed another difficult crossing of the desert. The arrival of a caravan always brings quiet excitement. Children gather nearby, curious to see what has arrived. Adults greet the travelers warmly. Hands are shaken. Water is offered. Questions are asked. How was the journey? Were the wells full? Did you meet other caravans? How are the villages to the north? The answers matter. News travels as carefully as goods. In a world without newspapers or telephones, every traveler becomes a messenger. Imagine watching the caravan being unloaded. One bundle contains fine woven cloth brought from distant lands. Another holds bright beads that sparkle in the evening light. There are blocks of salt, carefully wrapped to keep them dry. Small pieces of worked metal. Olive oil carried in sealed jars. Perhaps a little wine brought from Mediterranean settlements for those who trade in such goods. Each object has traveled a remarkable distance. Each has passed through many careful hands before arriving here. The Garamantes themselves also have much to offer. Their dates are famous among travelers. Sweet, nutritious, easy to carry. Leather goods made in the oasis are strong and reliable. Well-crafted baskets are always useful. The knowledge of safe desert routes may be even more valuable than any physical object. Some merchants gladly pay experienced local guides to lead them across unfamiliar stretches of the Sahara. A guide who knows where hidden wells can be found is worth more than a cart filled with treasure. Imagine sitting quietly beside two merchants as they share a simple meal. One has come from the north, the other from lands far to the south. Their languages are not exactly the same, yet they understand enough to exchange ideas. One describes the busy ports beside the Mediterranean Sea. Ships larger than any desert caravan arrive every day. Markets filled with fish, olives, pottery, and colorful fabrics. The other speaks of greener lands beyond the Sahara, places where rivers flow year-round, forests filled with unfamiliar birds, villages surrounded by rich farmland. The listeners in the oasis hear these stories with quiet fascination. Few of them will ever travel such great distances. Yet through these conversations, the wider world comes to them. The Garamantes occupy a special place between these different regions. They are not isolated. They are connected. Their kingdom acts as a bridge across one of the greatest deserts on Earth. Long before modern roads or railways existed, camel caravans carried ideas, customs, and friendships from one end of the Sahara to the other. Trade is never only about goods. It is also about people, about trust, about shared experiences. Imagine two merchants who have met every year for decades. Each knows the other will keep a promise. Each knows the other will offer fair exchange. Over time, business becomes friendship. Friendship becomes tradition. Their children may one day continue the same partnership. This quiet trust forms the invisible roads that connect distant communities. As the sky begins to glow with the soft colors of sunset, the marketplace slowly changes once again. Trading becomes less important. Conversation grows more relaxed. Families gather together before returning home. The children, tired from a full day of exploring, sit quietly beside their parents. The camels kneel peacefully in a nearby enclosure, chewing slowly as they rest after their long journey. Above them, the first evening stars begin to appear. The desert is preparing for another calm night. And so are the people who call it home. Yet while the marketplace grows quieter, another important part of Garamantian life is just beginning. As darkness settles over the oasis, families will gather beneath the stars to share meals, remember their ancestors, and tell stories that have traveled through countless generations. It is in those quiet evening moments that we will discover not only how the Garamantes lived, but also how they understood the world around them. So let us follow the fading light into the peaceful night. Our journey is far from over. The voices around the evening fire are waiting to welcome us. The last light of the day slowly slips beyond the western horizon. For a few quiet moments, the sky glows with soft shades of gold, rose, and pale purple. The warm colors fade gently into deeper blue, and one by one, the first stars begin to appear. The desert is changing once again. The heat of the day slowly drifts away. Cool air moves across the open sand. The palm trees whisper softly in the evening breeze. Somewhere beyond the gardens, a small owl calls into the growing darkness. Night has returned to the oasis. Imagine standing at the edge of the village. The homes are lit by small oil lamps and cooking fires. Their gentle light flickers against walls of mud, brick, and stone. The glow is warm and welcoming. There is no bright light to hide the stars. Above you stretches one of the clearest night skies in the world. Thousands upon thousands of stars fill the heavens. Some shine brightly. Others appear as tiny points of silver. The broad band of the Milky Way stretches from one horizon to the other like a river of light. For the people of the Garamantes, this sky was more than beautiful. It was familiar. Every evening it returned. Every season, certain stars appeared while others disappeared. The heavens became a trusted companion. Imagine a young child lying beside his grandfather on a woven mat outside their home. The old man slowly raises his hand and points toward the stars. There, he whispers softly, "Do you see those bright ones?" The child nods. The stars sparkle quietly overhead. The grandfather smiles. When those stars rise before dawn, we know another season is coming. The lesson is simple. There is no hurry. Tomorrow night, the stars will still be there. Next year, they will return again. Children in the oasis learned about the sky little by little. Not in classrooms, not from books, but from evenings exactly like this one. The desert has always encouraged people to look upward. During the day, travelers watch the sun. At night, they watch the stars. Experienced caravan guides could cross enormous stretches of empty land, using only the heavens above. Without roads or signposts, the stars became trusted guides. Imagine walking beside a caravan during the cool hours of the night. The camels move quietly. Their footsteps make soft sounds against the firm sand. No one speaks very loudly. The darkness feels peaceful rather than frightening. Above, familiar stars slowly move across the sky. The guide glances upward from time to time. He hardly needs to think. He has followed these same stars for many years. They quietly lead him from one oasis to another. Long before modern maps, the night sky was a map of its own. Back in the village, families gather for the evening meal. Cooking fires burn gently. The smell of fresh bread mixes with the sweetness of roasted dates. Clay bowls are placed upon woven mats. Everyone sits close together. Meals are not rushed. The work of the day is complete. Now there is time simply to enjoy one another's company. Imagine sharing this meal with one family. A grandmother breaks warm bread into smaller pieces. A father pours fresh goat's milk into clay cups. Children wait patiently until everyone is ready. The youngest smiles as dates are passed around the circle. Conversation begins quietly. Someone asks about the gardens. Another speaks of the travelers who arrived that afternoon. A little girl excitedly tells everyone about a tiny bird she found near the irrigation channels. Her older brother laughs gently. The adults listen with warm smiles. No one seems eager to end the evening. The desert nights belong to conversation. They belong to memory. They belong to stories. Perhaps this has always been true wherever people gather around a warm fire. Stories help us remember where we came from. They help children understand the world. They carry lessons that might otherwise be forgotten. Imagine the oldest storyteller in the village clearing his throat gently. The younger children settle down. Even the adults become quiet. Everyone knows a story is about to begin. He does not speak loudly. He does not rush. His voice rises and falls like the gentle breeze moving through the palms. He begins with the words his own grandfather once used, words heard by many generations before him. Perhaps he tells of brave travelers who crossed the desert safely because they respected nature. Perhaps he speaks of wise elders who solved difficult problems through patience rather than anger. Maybe he tells stories explaining how certain hills received their names or why particular springs were considered special. Some stories may contain history. Others may contain imagination. Many contain both. That is often how ancient storytelling works. Facts and wisdom become woven together. The purpose is not only to entertain. It is to teach. Imagine one little boy listening carefully. Years later, he will become a father himself. One evening, beneath another sky filled with stars, he will repeat the same story to his own children. Some words may change. Small details may become different. Yet the heart of the story remains. In this way, memory survives. Generation after generation. Without written pages. Without great libraries. Only through careful listening. The Garamantes almost certainly valued these evenings greatly. Their civilization depended upon shared knowledge. The location of hidden wells. The safest caravan routes. The proper care of underground tunnels. The timing of harvests. These practical lessons mixed naturally with stories of ancestors, traditions, and beliefs. Everything became part of one larger conversation. Imagine a visitor sitting quietly beside the fire. He has traveled from a distant oasis. Many customs feel familiar. Others are slightly different. As he listens to the stories, he begins understanding the people around him. Not through trade, not through formal meetings, but through ordinary evenings spent together. This is one of the quiet powers of storytelling. It welcomes strangers. It strengthens communities. It reminds people that they belong somewhere. The stars continue climbing higher into the night. The air grows cooler. Children begin rubbing their sleepy eyes. One by one, they lean gently against their parents. The younger ones drift peacefully towards sleep before the stories have even ended. No one wakes them. They simply carry them inside. The conversation continues a little longer among the adults. Imagine looking once more toward the heavens. The sky seems even brighter now. Without the lights of modern cities, every constellation stands out clearly. The Milky Way stretches overhead like a pale ribbon of silver dust. To us, these stars may seem distant. To the Garamantes, they were faithful companions. Night after night, year after year, generation after generation. Perhaps they looked at the very same stars we see today and wondered about their place in the world. Perhaps they found comfort in their steady return. There is something deeply peaceful about that thought. Thousands of years separate us from the people of the Garamantes. Their homes have become ruins. Their voices have long since faded. Yet above us shines the same night sky, the same stars, the same quiet moon. The heavens have watched every chapter of human history without ever growing old. As the fires slowly burn lower, the village becomes still. Doors close softly. The last conversations come to an end. Only the gentle sound of the breeze remains. Somewhere beneath the earth, water continues its silent journey through the underground tunnels. Above, the stars continue their endless journey across the heavens. Everything moves. Everything changes. Yet everything also continues. It is a comforting rhythm. a rhythm the Garamantes knew well. As the night grows deeper and the oasis falls peacefully asleep, our own journey through this remarkable civilization also pauses for a moment. But dawn will come again, and with it, another day in the heart of the Sahara. In the next part of our story, we will welcome the rising sun once more and begin exploring how the Garamantes slowly transformed from peaceful oasis communities into one of the most influential kingdoms of the ancient Sahara, whose name eventually reached the ears of the Mediterranean world. The night passes quietly. Above the oasis, the stars slowly drift toward the western horizon. One by one, they begin to fade as the first light of dawn gently touches the edge of the desert. The air is cool once again. A soft breeze moves through the palm groves. The underground water continues its silent journey beneath the earth, just as it did throughout the night. Soon another day begins. Imagine standing on a low hill, overlooking the oasis as the sun rises. The first golden rays reach the tops of the date palms. Birds awaken one after another. A few goats wander from their shelters, stretching after a peaceful night. Thin lines of smoke rise from cooking fires as families prepare the morning meal. Everything feels familiar, steady, comforting. For the people living here, this is simply another ordinary day. Yet beyond the horizon, the wider world is slowly beginning to notice this quiet kingdom. For many centuries, the Mediterranean peoples knew very little about the deep Sahara. The desert appeared vast and mysterious. Its great distances discouraged most travelers. Many believed that almost nothing could exist beyond the endless sands. But merchants are naturally curious people. They follow opportunity wherever it leads. And little by little, caravans returned from the south carrying remarkable stories. They spoke of green oases hidden among the rocks. They described prosperous communities, living where outsiders expected only empty desert. They told of skilled guides who knew safe routes across lands that frightened even experienced travelers. Again and again, one people appeared in these stories: the Garamantes. Imagine a merchant arriving at a busy port on the Mediterranean coast after many weeks of travel. Friends gather around him. They ask the usual questions. Where have you been? What did you see? Were the roads safe? The merchant smiles. He begins describing a kingdom far beyond the coast, a place where date palms grow in carefully planned gardens, where water flows beneath the earth through long underground tunnels, where villages welcome weary travelers with fresh water and simple meals. His listeners become curious. Some find the stories difficult to believe. A thriving kingdom in the middle of the Sahara. Surely that cannot be true. Yet more merchants return with similar accounts. Soon the stories become impossible to ignore. The Garamantes are no longer only a rumor. They are becoming known throughout the ancient world. Imagine a young mapmaker sitting beside a wooden table. Before him lies a sheet of parchment. He carefully draws coastlines, mountains, rivers. Beyond the familiar lands, however, many areas remain uncertain. There are no detailed maps of the deep Sahara. Only reports from travelers, small notes, simple sketches. The mapmaker listens carefully whenever experienced merchants speak. Each journey adds another small piece to the puzzle. A village lies here. There is an oasis several days farther south. The Garamantes rule this region. Little by little, knowledge spreads. Slowly, patiently, just as the desert itself reveals its secrets. The Garamantes never sought fame in the way some great empires did. They did not build enormous fleets of ships. They did not carve gigantic monuments proclaiming their victories. Their strength came from something quieter. They understood the land better than anyone else. And because they understood the land, they controlled many of the safest routes through it. Imagine looking once again at the Sahara from high above. The desert stretches endlessly in every direction. To someone unfamiliar with it, every dune seems the same. Every rocky hill appears identical. But to experienced Garamantes guides, each landmark has meaning. A particular cliff marks the way toward fresh water. A distant hill signals the safest path through rough terrain. Certain stars guide travelers during the night. Knowledge becomes the true map. This knowledge makes the Garamantes valuable partners. Merchants from the north depend upon them. Travelers from the south trust their guidance. Their kingdom quietly becomes an important bridge between different parts of Africa and the Mediterranean world. Imagine a caravan preparing for another long journey. The camels kneel patiently while their loads are secured. Large bundles of dates are carefully tied in place. Leather water bags are inspected one final time. Baskets filled with grain are stacked neatly. Every rope is checked. Every knot tightened. Nothing is left to chance. One experienced guide walks slowly around the caravan. He studies each animal carefully. He knows that the journey ahead will require patience rather than speed. The desert rewards preparation. It rarely forgives carelessness. The travelers begin walking just after sunrise. The morning air is cool enough to make the first hours comfortable. The caravan stretches across the sand like a slow-moving ribbon. The pace never changes. Step after step, hour after hour. There is no need to hurry. The destination will still be there tomorrow. As they travel, they pass familiar landmarks. A group of weathered rocks shaped by centuries of wind. A dry valley where wild grasses appear after rare rains. A lonely acacia tree standing against the horizon. Each landmark becomes part of the memory carried by experienced guides. Some of these routes have been used for generations. Grandfathers walked them. Their children followed. Now their grandchildren continue the same journeys. Imagine stopping at a small oasis after several days of travel. The camels drink deeply. The travelers wash the dust from their faces. Simple tents are raised. A meal is prepared. Around the evening fire, news is exchanged. Another caravan recently passed this way. The wells farther east remain full. A new family has settled near one of the smaller oases. These conversations may seem ordinary, yet they quietly connect hundreds of communities across enormous distances. Information moves from oasis to oasis, from caravan to caravan, across the whole desert. The Garamantes become trusted members of this great network. Their reputation grows steadily, not because of dramatic victories, not because of loud announcements, but because they prove reliable. Reliable guides, reliable traders, reliable neighbors. Trust is built slowly, much like the underground tunnels that carried water beneath their homeland. One careful stone at a time. Imagine a traveler arriving at the Garamantes oasis for the very first time. After days of empty desert, the sight is almost unbelievable. Green gardens, tall palms, flowing water, children playing beneath the trees. The traveler smiles with relief. He has reached safety. The people welcome him kindly. Fresh water is offered before any questions are asked. Perhaps a handful of sweet dates. A place to rest beneath the shade. These simple acts of hospitality become part of the kingdom's reputation. Travelers remember kindness. They speak of it when they return home. Stories spread farther than caravans ever could. It is through countless small moments like these that the Garamantes become known across the ancient world. Not everyone who hears their name will visit their homeland. Many will know them only through stories shared around distant fires. Yet those stories carry a common message. Deep within the Sahara lives a people who have learned to make the desert bloom. As the morning slowly grows brighter once again, the oasis returns to its familiar rhythm. Farmers head toward the gardens. Craftsmen open their workshops. Children begin another day of learning through watching, listening, and helping. Life continues much as it always has. Few people here realize that their kingdom is becoming part of history, far beyond the horizon. Soon, even one of the greatest powers of the ancient world will hear about them. A growing republic, and later an empire, across the Mediterranean will become increasingly curious about the people who thrive in the heart of the Sahara. That meeting will bring friendship at times, competition at others, and stories that ancient writers will preserve for generations. But those encounters belong to another chapter. For now, let us remain in the peaceful morning light of the oasis, where the Garamantes continue their quiet lives, unaware that their name has begun its long journey across the ancient world. In the next chapter, we will follow that journey northward and discover how the Garamantes came into contact with distant civilizations, including the powerful world of Rome, while still preserving the unique traditions that made their desert kingdom unlike any other. The first light of another morning spreads gently across the Sahara. The cool air carries the scent of damp earth from the gardens, while a few thin clouds glow softly above the eastern horizon. Palm leaves whisper together in the quiet breeze, and somewhere in the distance, a camel gives a slow, familiar call. Another peaceful day has begun in the kingdom of the Garamantes. Imagine yourself standing once more upon the gentle rise, overlooking the oasis. Below you, the village is already waking. Smoke rises from cooking fires. Farmers begin walking toward the fields. Children carry water jars almost as carefully as their parents. Nothing feels rushed. Nothing feels dramatic. Life continues with the calm confidence that comes from generations of experience. If you had visited this place during these years, you might never have guessed that history was quietly changing around it. The people themselves probably did not think of their home as mysterious or unusual. To them, it was simply where they belonged. The gardens were familiar. The wells were familiar. The underground tunnels had always been there, cared for by parents and grandparents long before today's children were born. The desert was not an enemy. It was simply home. Yet far beyond these peaceful palm groves, another world was becoming larger and more connected. Across the Mediterranean Sea, cities continued to grow. Ships crossed blue waters carrying grain, pottery, olive oil, timber, and news. Roads stretched farther every generation. Merchants traveled farther than their fathers had done. Kings and rulers became increasingly interested in lands beyond their own borders. Curiosity has always been one of humanity's greatest strengths. People naturally wish to know what lies beyond the next hill, beyond the next river, beyond the next sea, and beyond the Great Sahara itself. For centuries, the desert had acted like a vast natural wall. It separated the Mediterranean coast from the rich lands farther south. Crossing it was never impossible, but it required knowledge, patience, preparation. Only experienced travelers attempted such journeys. The Garamantes possessed exactly the knowledge those travelers needed. Imagine a merchant preparing for an expedition, unlike any he has attempted before. He stands beside his caravan before sunrise. His camels are loaded with carefully chosen goods. Strong leather water bags hang from their sides. Bundles of cloth are tied securely with rope. Small jars filled with olive oil are packed carefully to avoid breaking. Nothing is carried without reason. Every item has value. Every kilogram matters. He knows the journey ahead will last many weeks, perhaps longer. Before leaving, he meets with a Garamantes guide. The guide studies the sky. He feels the morning breeze against his face. He asks only a few quiet questions. How many animals? How much water? How many travelers? Has anyone made this journey before? The merchant answers honestly. The guide nods. The desert respects honesty. Pretending to be prepared when you are not can become dangerous. Together they begin walking. The village slowly disappears behind them. Palm trees become smaller. Soon they blend into the endless horizon. Ahead stretches open desert. The landscape changes constantly. Some days they cross broad plains covered with hard-packed earth. Other days they weave between rocky hills carved smooth by countless centuries of wind. Sometimes the path leads across gentle dunes that rise and fall like quiet ocean waves frozen in time. The guide never seems uncertain. To the merchant, every direction appears almost identical. To the guide, each hill carries meaning. He notices small details that others would overlook. A particular rock shaped like a bird. A narrow valley where cool air lingers after sunrise. The faint outline of an old caravan path, nearly hidden beneath drifting sand. These signs are enough. The desert speaks softly. Only careful listeners hear its voice. Imagine walking beside them during the cool hours before noon. The only sounds are the steady footsteps of the camels, the gentle creaking of leather straps, the occasional flutter of a desert bird rising from a nearby bush. Conversation comes and goes. There is no need to fill every moment with words. Silence feels comfortable here. As the sun climbs higher, the travelers pause beneath a rocky cliff offering precious shade. Water is shared carefully. No one drinks more than necessary. Dried dates are passed around. Simple bread is broken into pieces. The meal is modest. Yet after many hours of walking, it tastes wonderful. The guide quietly points toward distant mountains. Beyond those hills, he says softly, there is another oasis. The merchant looks carefully. At first, he sees nothing except shimmering heat. Only after several moments does he notice a faint line of green on the horizon. Without the guide, he would never have found it. This is why the Garamantes became so respected. They understood not only where to travel, they understood when to travel. During the hottest weeks of summer, certain routes became dangerous. Some wells produced less water. Strong winds occasionally buried familiar tracks beneath fresh sand. An inexperienced traveler might continue walking in the wrong direction for hours before realizing the mistake. The Garamantes avoided such dangers through knowledge gathered across generations. Every successful journey added another layer to that knowledge. Every difficult season taught another lesson. Every safe return strengthened the trust others placed in them. Little by little, merchants from distant lands began arranging their journeys around Garamantes experience. It was easier, safer, and often much faster. The desert itself had not changed, but people's understanding of it had. Imagine arriving together at another oasis after several peaceful days of travel. Children run forward to greet the caravan. Fresh water is offered. The camels kneel gratefully beneath the shade. The travelers smile with quiet relief. Another stage of the journey has been completed. As evening settles across the Sahara once more, stories begin flowing around the cooking fires. Some travelers speak of great cities beside the sea. Others tell of forests far beyond the southern deserts. The Garamantes listen with genuine interest. In return, they share their own knowledge of hidden valleys, ancient wells, and the quiet rhythms of desert life. Each conversation gently widens the understanding of everyone present. Without realizing it, these peaceful gatherings are helping connect distant civilizations. Not through conquest, not through war, but through conversation, through trade, through shared meals beneath the stars. As the night grows calm once again, the kingdom of the Garamantes continues to play its quiet but essential role in the ancient world. Their oasis is no longer simply a home. It has become a meeting place where different cultures, languages, and ideas gently cross paths. And beyond the northern horizon, one powerful civilization is beginning to hear their name more often than ever before. That civilization is growing quickly. Its influence stretches farther each generation. Its soldiers march across continents. Its merchants seek new opportunities. Its writers record the peoples they encounter. Soon, that civilization will look toward the Sahara with growing curiosity. And when it does, the Garamantes will step fully into the written pages of history. The morning sun continues its gentle climb across the wide African sky. Its warm light spreads slowly over the rocky hills surrounding the oasis. The gardens shimmer with fresh green leaves, and the narrow channels of water continue their quiet work, carrying life through the fields. The village is already awake. Children help their parents gather ripe dates. Craftsmen open the wooden doors of their workshops. A shepherd whistles softly as his goats wander toward the edge of the oasis. Everything feels peaceful. Everything feels familiar. Yet somewhere far to the north, many days away by caravan, another morning is also beginning. Imagine standing beside the blue waters of the Mediterranean Sea. Instead of sand stretching toward every horizon, you see ships resting in busy harbors. The air smells of salt and fresh fish. Merchants unload jars of olive oil. Fishermen repair their nets. Stone buildings line the streets. People from many different lands pass one another every day. This world feels very different from the quiet oasis we have come to know. But despite those differences, the two worlds are becoming more closely connected with each passing year. Goods travel, people travel, ideas travel, and so do stories. Imagine a merchant sitting beneath the shade of a warehouse after returning from a long journey. Friends gather around him. They ask the same questions every traveler hears. What lies beyond the desert? Who lives there? What are those people like? The merchant smiles gently. He has many stories to tell. He speaks of wide valleys filled with palm trees, of cool wells hidden beneath the desert, of villages where strangers are welcomed with water before any business is discussed. He tells them about a people called the Garamantes. At first, the listeners are curious, then surprised. Some have never heard the name before. Others remember hearing it from another traveler months earlier. Little by little, the Garamantes become less mysterious. Their name begins spreading from marketplace to marketplace, from harbor to harbor, from city to city. Long before newspapers existed, this was how news traveled. One conversation at a time. Eventually, these stories reach educated men who enjoy collecting knowledge about distant lands. Some are geographers. Some are historians. Some simply wish to understand how large the world truly is. Imagine a writer sitting beside a wooden table covered with rolls of papyrus. A small oil lamp burns nearby. The room is quiet except for the soft scratching of a reed pen. Before writing anything, he listens carefully. Travelers arrive from many directions. Each remembers different details. One speaks of difficult mountain passes. Another describes fertile gardens hidden deep within the Sahara. A third remembers meeting skilled desert guides whose knowledge seemed almost magical. The writer compares every story. He asks careful questions. Which details appear again and again? Which parts seem exaggerated? Which travelers agree with one another? Slowly, he begins writing. His words may not capture everything perfectly. No one can fully understand a distant place without living there. Still, his work preserves something valuable. The name of the Garamantes enters written history. This may seem like a small moment, yet it changes everything. Before this, the Garamantes lived almost entirely through their own traditions and spoken memories. Now, people who have never crossed the Sahara can learn that such a kingdom exists. Its story begins traveling farther than any caravan could ever walk. Imagine a young student reading these writings many years later. He has never seen the desert. He has never tasted fresh dates from an oasis. Yet through these written pages, he begins imagining distant lands. Perhaps one day he becomes a traveler himself. Perhaps he carries those writings on his own journey south. History often grows in quiet ways like this. One traveler inspires one writer. One writer inspires another traveler. Generation after generation, knowledge slowly expands. Of course, not every written description is completely accurate. Ancient writers, like modern people, sometimes misunderstood places they had never personally visited. Some repeated rumors without realizing they were mistaken. Others mixed facts with exciting stories. Imagine hearing 5 different travelers describe the same village. One remembers the beautiful gardens. Another remembers only the difficult journey. A third focuses on the marketplace. A fourth speaks mostly about the underground water tunnels. A fifth remembers the kindness shown by a local family. Each story is true, yet each tells only part of the picture. The ancient writers faced the same challenge. They collected many voices and tried to shape them into one account. Sometimes they succeeded wonderfully. Sometimes important details were left out. That is one reason archaeologists today continue studying the Garamantes so carefully. The ground itself often preserves information that ancient books forgot. A buried house, a broken water jar, an old farming tool, the remains of an underground tunnel. Each discovery quietly adds another sentence to the story. Imagine standing beside an ancient writer as he pauses over his work. He dips his pen into ink. He thinks carefully before choosing the next words. He understands that people may read this description long after he is gone. His responsibility feels important. He wishes to be fair. He wishes to be truthful, even if his understanding remains incomplete. Perhaps without realizing it, he is helping preserve the memory of an entire civilization. Back in the oasis, however, life continues exactly as before. No one stops working because a distant scholar has written their name. The farmers still inspect the irrigation channels. The craftsmen still shape clay and leather. The shepherd still counts his goats before sunset. Children still chase one another beneath the palms. Grandparents still tell stories beneath the evening sky. The Garamantes do not become different simply because others have begun writing about them. This is an important reminder. History books often focus on famous names and great events. Yet most people spend their lives doing ordinary things. Preparing meals, repairing homes, teaching children, helping neighbors. The people of the Garamantes were no different. Their greatness rested not only in remarkable engineering or successful trade. It rested in the steady rhythm of everyday life. Imagine walking once more through the village during the late afternoon. A woman carefully hangs woven mats to dry after washing them. Two young boys practice throwing small wooden sticks at a target, laughing quietly whenever one lands close to the center. An elderly craftsman smooths the surface of a clay jar with gentle hands that have shaped pottery for decades. Nearby, a mother sings softly while rocking her youngest child to sleep. None of these moments will appear in ancient books. Yet together, they form the true heart of the civilization. Sometimes the most important parts of history are also the quietest. As evening approaches, another caravan arrives from the north. The travelers bring more than cloth and metal goods. They also carry news. Stories of distant rulers. Reports of changing politics. Rumors about a growing power whose influence now stretches across much of the Mediterranean world. Its armies are disciplined. Its roads are expanding. Its merchants travel farther every year. Its leaders are curious about every land connected to their trade. That growing power is Rome. For now, Rome is still only a distant name spoken around evening fires. Its cities lie far beyond the horizon. Its soldiers have never marched through this oasis. Its officials have never inspected these gardens. Yet the distance between the two worlds is becoming smaller with every passing season. Trade has a quiet way of bringing strangers together. A merchant sells dates to another merchant. That merchant later sells them in a northern market. Someone asks where the fruit came from. A conversation begins. Another journey is planned. Step by step, year by year, the roads between civilizations become stronger. The Garamantes may not realize it yet, but they are standing at the edge of an important new chapter. Soon, their kingdom will attract the attention of one of the greatest powers the ancient Mediterranean has ever known. Some meetings will be peaceful, others more complicated. But those stories are still waiting beyond the horizon. For now, the evening sun settles gently behind the western hills. The oasis grows quiet once more. The cooking fires are lit. Families gather together. Children listen to familiar stories. And above them all, the first stars quietly appear, just as they have for countless generations. Tomorrow will bring another peaceful morning. And with it, another step toward the remarkable meeting between the people of the Sahara and the expanding world of Rome. The stars slowly fade into the quiet light of another dawn. A cool breeze drifts through the oasis, gently stirring the leaves of the date palms. The village wakes as it always has. A shepherd opens the gate for his goats. A potter mixes fresh clay with water. Children carry baskets toward the gardens while their parents greet the new day with calm smiles. Life continues with its familiar rhythm. The Garamantes do not know it yet, but far beyond the northern horizon another civilization is growing larger every year. Let us leave the oasis for a little while. Imagine walking northward. Our journey is long. We cross rocky plains where only hardy plants survive. We pass through small desert valleys that hold the memory of ancient rivers. Days become weeks. Slowly the air begins to change. The dry wind carries a hint of moisture. The landscape becomes greener. More villages appear. The smell of salt reaches us before we can even see the sea. At last, the blue waters of the Mediterranean stretch before us. Gentle waves roll onto the shore. Fishing boats rock quietly in sheltered harbors. Sea birds circle overhead, calling to one another in the morning light. For someone who has spent many days crossing the Sahara, the sight feels almost magical. The endless sea seems as vast as the endless desert. Different, yet somehow familiar. Both demand respect. Both reward patience. From the coast, we continue our journey north. Roads become wider. Stone bridges cross gentle rivers. The number of travelers grows steadily. Farmers lead carts filled with grain. Merchants guide mules carrying cloth, wine, and pottery. Soldiers march in careful formation. Everyone seems to be moving toward the same destination. The city of Rome. Imagine arriving there early in the morning. The city is already awake. The streets are busier than anything we have seen in the quiet oasis. Vendors arrange fresh fruit upon wooden tables. Bakers remove warm bread from large ovens. Blacksmiths begin heating their fires. Stone buildings stand several stories high. People from many different lands pass one another every moment. Some wear clothing unlike anything seen in the Sahara. Some speak languages unfamiliar to our ears. Others carry goods from places even farther away than the Garamantes had imagined. Rome feels enormous, not only because of its size, but because so many different worlds meet within its streets. At this time in history, Rome is still a republic. Instead of being ruled by an emperor, many important decisions are made by elected officials and respected leaders. The city continues growing. Its influence reaches farther each generation. New lands become connected through trade. New roads stretch across mountains and valleys. Merchants constantly search for opportunities beyond familiar borders. Imagine standing in one of Rome's busy marketplaces. The sounds are very different from the peaceful market of the Garamantes. Voices overlap from every direction. Animals move through crowded streets. The smell of fresh bread mixes with spices brought from distant lands. Colorful fabrics hang from wooden stalls. Pottery from Greece stands beside glass from Egypt. Olive oil from Italy is sold beside perfumes from the Eastern Mediterranean. Every object carries a story. Every merchant carries news. Among these conversations, the distant Sahara is mentioned more often than before. Another caravan has arrived. They crossed the desert safely. The Garamantes guided them. The dates from the oasis are especially sweet this year. Small conversations like these slowly spread across the city. Not everyone pays attention. Most people remain focused on their own daily lives. Yet merchants remember useful information. If the Garamantes help caravans travel safely, then they become valuable partners. Imagine, too, Roman merchants sitting beneath a shaded courtyard after finishing their day's business. One has recently returned from North Africa. The other listens with great interest. The desert is unlike anything I have ever seen, the traveler says quietly. So much emptiness, so much silence, but hidden within it are remarkable people. He describes the underground water tunnels, the gardens filled with palms, the careful hospitality shown to strangers. His friend listens carefully. These details matter. Knowledge often becomes profit. A merchant who understands distant lands can make wiser decisions. He knows which routes are safer, which goods are valuable, which communities can be trusted. Trade has always depended upon information, just as it depends upon courage. Back in the Garamantes oasis, another caravan is also preparing for departure. The guides tighten leather straps around their camels. Water bags are inspected. Bundles of dates are packed carefully. Everyone checks their supplies one final time. Although they have never seen Rome itself, they know that some of their goods will eventually travel there. A basket of dates harvested beneath these very palms may one day appear in a marketplace hundreds of kilometers away. A leather water bag made by one village craftsman may help another traveler survive a difficult journey. The people of the oasis and the people of Rome are becoming connected. Not through direct meetings, not yet, but through the quiet movement of trade. Imagine following one single jar of olive oil. It begins its journey beside the Mediterranean. A merchant carries it south. Another trader exchanges it for leather goods. Later, a Garamantes family uses that same oil while preparing an evening meal. At the same time, their dates begin the opposite journey. Northward, step by step, hand to hand, across the desert, until eventually they reach distant markets beside the sea. It is a peaceful exchange. One civilization shares what it has. Another shares something different. Both become a little richer because of it. The Garamantes are not isolated from the wider world, nor is Rome entirely separate from the Sahara. Invisible threads now connect them. Threads woven from trust, trade, friendship, curiosity. Imagine an elderly Roman scholar listening to yet another traveler describe the mysterious kingdom beyond the desert. He smiles thoughtfully. The world, he says softly, is always larger than we first imagine. Perhaps that simple sentence captures the spirit of this age. Every generation discovers new places. Every generation learns that unfamiliar people often share familiar hopes. Families wish for peace. Parents wish for healthy children. Farmers hope for good harvests. Travelers hope for safe roads. Whether living beside the Mediterranean Sea or deep within the Sahara, people are not so different after all. As the afternoon sun begins its slow descent over Rome, life continues in both worlds. Children laugh in Roman streets. Children laugh beneath Garamantes palms. Farmers finish their work in Italian fields. Farmers finish their work beside desert gardens. Families gather for evening meals. Stories are shared beneath different skies. Yet the same stars will soon appear above them all. The distance between Rome and the Garamantes remains great. But with every passing year, that distance feels a little smaller. Soon, merchants alone will no longer carry news between these worlds. Roman officials, Roman explorers, even Roman soldiers will begin paying closer attention to the kingdom hidden within the Sahara. Their meeting will shape both histories in unexpected ways. But that story belongs to another evening. For now, let us leave the busy streets of Rome behind and return to the peaceful silence of the desert, where the gentle whisper of palm leaves reminds us that history often begins not with great battles, but with quiet conversations carried across long roads and patient journeys. The first light of dawn has now given way to a bright and peaceful morning. Back in the oasis of the Garamantes, the familiar rhythm of daily life has already begun. Water flows gently through the narrow channels. Farmers walk toward the gardens with simple tools resting across their shoulders. Birds flutter from palm to palm, greeting the warmth of another desert day. Everything feels calm. Yet beneath this peaceful routine, something remarkable is happening. Every week, every month, every year, long caravans leave the oasis and disappear into the endless Sahara. Others arrive from distant horizons. Together, these journeys quietly connect worlds that would otherwise remain strangers. Imagine standing beside one of these caravans just before sunrise. The air is still cool enough that your breath almost seems visible for a moment. Rows of camels kneel patiently upon the firm ground. Their large eyes blink slowly. They seem completely untroubled by the long journey waiting ahead. Experienced handlers move quietly among them. They tighten ropes, check leather straps, arrange heavy bundles with practiced hands. Nothing is hurried. A loose knot discovered here could become a serious problem many days later. Every detail deserves attention. The caravan leader walks from one animal to the next. He counts each camel carefully. He knows them almost as well as old friends. Some are young and full of energy. Others have crossed the Sahara so many times that they seem to know the routes by heart. The oldest animals move with calm confidence. They never rush. They understand that the desert rewards steady footsteps. Imagine one young boy watching from nearby. This is perhaps the first time he has seen such a large caravan preparing to leave. His father notices his curiosity. He kneels beside him. "Watch carefully," he says with a gentle smile. The desert teaches patience. The boy nods. He watches as every water bag is inspected. Every basket is balanced. Every animal is treated with care. These are lessons that cannot be learned in a single morning. One day, perhaps many years from now, he may lead caravans himself. For now, he simply watches. Learning begins with observation. Finally, the leader gives a quiet signal. One by one, the camels rise. Their movements are slow and graceful. Bundles sway gently as they settle into place. The long line begins moving toward the open desert. No drums announce their departure. No cheering crowd gathers. Only the soft sound of footsteps fading into the morning light. Imagine walking beside them. The pace feels surprisingly comfortable. The camels do not hurry. Neither do the people. Everyone understands that this journey may last several weeks. There is no benefit in wasting energy during the first day. Instead, they settle into a steady rhythm. Step after step, hour after hour. The same quiet rhythm that countless caravans have followed across the Sahara for generations. As the oasis slowly disappears behind them, the landscape opens into wide plains covered with small stones polished smooth by ancient winds. Far away, low mountains rise like gentle waves upon the horizon. The morning sun warms the earth, but the air remains pleasant. The travelers speak only occasionally. Most simply, enjoy the peaceful silence. The desert has a way of encouraging quiet thoughts. Imagine asking the caravan leader what they are carrying today. He smiles. "A little of everything," he replies. Some camels carry baskets filled with dried dates. Others transport leather water bags made by skilled craftsmen. There are woven mats, palm fiber ropes, carefully shaped pottery protected inside thick layers of cloth. Some bundles contain grain harvested from the oasis gardens. Nothing is carried without purpose. Each object has someone waiting for it. The caravan also hopes to return with new goods. Perhaps olive oil from the Mediterranean coast. Perhaps fine pottery made in northern workshops. Metal tools. Beautiful beads. Pieces of colored glass that catch the sunlight in remarkable ways. Sometimes even books or written messages travel alongside the merchants. Trade is never only about buying and selling. It is about exchange. Ideas travel alongside every object. Imagine stopping at a small oasis after several peaceful days. Another caravan has arrived from the opposite direction. The leaders greet one another warmly. Many have met before. Some have shared the same roads for decades. News is exchanged before business begins. How are the wells to the west? Has anyone seen heavy winds near the southern dunes? Are the mountain passes clear? These questions may sound simple, yet the answers can protect many lives. One blocked route may delay an entire caravan. One dry well could change the plans of dozens of travelers. Information is every bit as valuable as food or water. Perhaps even more valuable. Imagine sitting quietly beside the evening fire as the two caravans share a meal. Fresh bread is passed around. Dates are offered generously. Water is poured carefully into clay cups. The conversation grows wider. Someone speaks about a distant coastal city where ships from many lands gather. Another traveler describes villages far beyond the southern edge of the Sahara. Someone else has heard rumors of new Roman roads being built farther north. Everyone listens. No one interrupts. Every traveler adds another small piece to the great map that exists inside their memories. Maps in those days were often incomplete. The most accurate maps lived inside experienced minds. A guide who had crossed the desert 20 times possessed knowledge no parchment could fully capture. He remembered the shape of certain cliffs, the taste of water from different wells, the place where a lonely acacia tree marked a safe turning point, the sound of the wind between particular rocks. The desert could not easily be measured with lines upon paper. It had to be experienced. Imagine another day of travel. The sky remains perfectly clear. The caravan follows a valley between low rocky hills. Small desert flowers bloom unexpectedly after rare rains weeks earlier. Tiny lizards dart between stones before disappearing again. A hawk circles high overhead. Even in the harsh Sahara, life finds quiet ways to flourish. The travelers notice these things. They have learned that paying attention often brings safety. Birds sometimes gather where water lies nearby. Fresh animal tracks may lead toward hidden springs. Even the direction of the wind can reveal changing weather. Nature is constantly offering gentle advice to those willing to observe it. By midday, the caravan pauses beneath a rocky outcrop. The shade is welcome. Camels kneel gratefully. Their loads remain tied securely. The travelers remove only what they need. A little water, some dried dates, flat bread, perhaps a handful of nuts saved for the journey. The meal is simple, but everyone seems content. The leader quietly studies the horizon. He is not worried, only thoughtful. A good guide is always thinking one day ahead. Where will they sleep tonight? How much water remains? Will tomorrow's route offer enough shade? Preparation brings peace of mind. As afternoon turns toward evening, the golden light transforms the landscape. The rocky hills glow with shades of amber and red. Long shadows stretch across the desert floor. The air cools pleasantly. Walking becomes easier again. Soon another campsite is chosen. Small fires appear one by one. The camels rest in a loose circle nearby. The travelers gather together. Someone begins telling a story remembered from childhood. Another quietly sings an old traveling song, whose slow rhythm matches the steady footsteps of the caravan. Above them, the stars slowly return. The same stars shine above the Garamantes oasis. The same stars shine above Rome. The same stars shine above countless travelers making their way across the ancient world. For a moment, the great distances between civilizations seem a little smaller. The caravan is more than a line of camels crossing the desert. It is a moving bridge. A bridge carrying goods, friendships, languages, songs, stories, and hopes from one community to another. The Garamantes understood this better than almost anyone. Their kingdom stood at the center of these ancient roads, welcoming travelers from many directions while quietly preserving its own traditions. As the fire burns lower and the gentle conversations fade into the peaceful desert night, another successful day comes to an end. Tomorrow, the caravan will continue its patient journey across the sands. And so will we. In the next part of our story, We will meet the skilled leaders and wise elders who guided the Garamantes kingdom itself, discovering how decisions were made and how a peaceful oasis gradually grew into one of the most respected powers of the ancient Sahara.